All right, welcome everybody. Who's here? Michael McCullough, Mr. Kozar's here. Are you still here? Mr. Mancola, you're here? Why is my camera off? Here we go, starting video. All right. I got that a little whack. Woohoo! Right, welcome to the class. You would never know I was on a roof a minute ago. All right. 123, 20. Right, we got 3 more minutes. Welcome. I think Mr. Kozar is still on. Let's see. All right. Mr. Mancola, are you there? Can you hear me? Oh, here we go. Come on, man. Wait a minute. What? Oh, there we go. Oh, is everybody else back too? Did I go away? Or did y'all go away?
I think your camera went away.
We can see you. But you're frozen. Hey, take that picture like that.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
You're back.
Okay, you're back.
Was I gone?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was here the whole time. What are you talking about?
You were frozen.
What's the last thing you guys heard me say? Damn it. Anybody hear anything? Let's see something real quick.
We can hear you now.
Gotcha. I'm gonna try something. This might work better, it might not. I don't know.
We appreciate everyone's patience.
You're welcome, Amy.
While we do technical crap. See if this any better.
Pearl, everyone.
Look, it's Pearl. That's not fair, baby.
She wanted to distract everyone while you were working on that.
Oh my God, she's so cute.
She's beyond, let me tell you something, that little son of a gun, way beyond cute. She gets away with she could be a hitman. She'd get away with murder. I'm pretty clear about it. Hang on a second. Okay. All right. Is that any better so far? I don't know. We'll see if it's better. Let's see if this got better. Nope. All right. So list views are awesome. They really, and no, back on the page, right? So we're talking about the page and the records and how you see it. We will talk more about customizing it. The next module is called it's all about KISS, keeping it standard Salesforce to start with. And that is just take it out of the box and leave it alone and see how it goes from there. And is this any better whatsoever? Can anybody hear me any better or no? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the biggest thing is so a couple things that you have on the page is the related information, and I'm trying to, so that related tab means all of the records that are associated to this record. So whatever record you're on, the details tab always tells you about that record, and the related tab always tells you about the records it's connected with. This is where the magic of CRM really comes to life, especially Salesforce, is all of the ways you can connect data so that you have quick and easy access to it to give you what's called the 360 view of the customer. And you can plug in external data systems. You can do a lot. So just stick with the standard that we got now. But when you think about an account, which is a company you do business with, some of the related things are the people, called contacts, the opportunities, which are conversations, the cases, which are problems or questions that they have. But you can have anything, literally any way that your business runs, you can have anything else. You could have projects that you're working with them. You know, when you go from opportunity to a contract to a project, you could have, and that's at the account level. You got to think about what are the things that are related to this record that I'm working with right now. Google Hangouts has crashed. What do I care if Google Hangouts has crashed? All right. Computers just talk to me all the time. So you've got, you can, and with the lightning page, you basically have a wide section and a narrow section. And depending on where the related list lives, what's the preview of number of records that you can see of the total? And that's on here as well. It doesn't matter. You don't need to remember. When you look at the screen, you can see how many records you can see. You can customize the related list you see on a record. You can change that as an admin. You can also take actions on records, which means there's a little action button. These are called quick actions. You can customize these, create these. We'll get into all of this in the functionality of Salesforce as we move forward in the class. Just know that the answer to all your Salesforce questions is yes. The next question is, how much time and money do you want to spend to have it that way? That's it. Those are the only two questions with Salesforce. Can Salesforce do it? Yes. The next question is, how much time and money will it take to get it done? Keeping it standard Salesforce, there's a lot of built-in functionality that we really, really, really want to leverage to its maximum capacity before we start creating or consuming other people's code or application or customizations, because once you never really know if you're getting the full benefit of Salesforce until you leverage what's standard in Salesforce. All right, any questions or comments about this section? There is one little piece where it shows the console style that's different than the regular Lightning page. And really what happens is the navigation tabs along the top get replaced with a navigation menu. And I'm trying to scroll my page and I'm still not. So the console style does it, your navigation menu is a drop-down list instead of a tabs along the top. It's really the big difference is there. We'll get into console when we get down the road with that, but we'll go from there. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? All right. What I'd like to do is, so we get some hands-on experience. I want to take my org if I can. Let's go, jump in our org. Let's go to the leads tab. Follow along with me. Let's go to the leads tab. Now, we're going to create a list view together. And then all you have to do is give me a thumbs up when you're done. And in theory, it should come right up. Let me know when you got your leads tab open in your org. Okay. So first thing I want you to do is I want you to go to all open leads. All open leads. So you recently viewed might be nothing, or you could have 3 there like I did. You could have 10 there, it depends. But you should have at least, if you have a developer org open, if you don't have a developer org, then follow those instructions I put in the chat. Go to developer.salesforce.com and grab a developer org. I'm looking at the list in what's called the Kanban view. So the Kanban view is different than the list view, or the table view, sorry, table display. Those are not list views, they're displays. Got to be more than 3. Okay, we got 15. They're in a table display, columns and rows. And first thing I want to do is I want to sort by different columns. This one I want to sort is the state column. And eventually the results will show up. Did you get your results yet on your screen? You probably did. What immediately sticks out when you sort by the it's only 15 records, right? So this doesn't have the impact of scale, but if I had 15,000 leads, this would be a big deal, right? Let's look at what we're looking at. So I'm looking at 15 items, sorted by state, filtered by all, and the lead status, let's see what it is. I think it's probably open. And I clicked on it and it's not. What does your filter say? Open up your mutes and let me just talk to. Because mine's slow. So this said all open leads, and it's filtered by all leads, which means ownership, and a lead status. We don't know what the filter is until we click the filter button or the funnel, top right corner, which is good. So this tells me these are the leads that I'm looking at. Now, question, when you're looking at all the leads and you're thinking about using a list view to trigger behavior, what's one of the things that you see looking at this screen or your screen? If you sort by state, what's one of the things you may notice? What do you see on the screen?
It's alphabetical.
It is alphabetical, but what are the first 3 records alphabetical?
No state listed.
No state listed. So this is the beautiful thing about data, right? Data triggers behavior. So I already know I've got a task. What's that task? If these are real viable leads, right? What's one thing that glaringly shows that I need to do?
I need to add the state.
I need to update the state. Now, do I really need to do it? Well, that's a question you have to ask yourself. Here's why I would say yes. Because if you look at that automatic, it says, I've already contacted John Smith and David Monaco, but I don't have the state. If you're the sales manager in this scenario, what does that tell you about the salesperson that owns these 3 leads? Because of 2 out of 3 of the leads.
They don't have complete information.
They don't what, babe? No, Amy?
They didn't have complete information when they added it to the system.
Right, there's a gap, right? So we already know that there's a habit of getting the data and keeping the data up to date that might be slipping. So as a leader, when you look at data and you see blanks, that is how you give rise. If you want good data and you want to make good decisions, which is hard for people to actually do, but if you did, then you might see, whoops, I click that around. I did that whole thing. I moved the camera. As a sales manager, that's it. It's not the world's not over, right? But it indicates, hey, what happened to David and John? You said you contacted them. How come you didn't update the address too? And it might be, oh yeah, they sent me an email. I'm gonna have a conversation with them later. There might be a reason for it, or it might be an indication that they're missing some data. But it could be, and there's lots of ways to manage data integrity. The first way is to actually look at it, right? The first way is to actually inspect what you respect. So if it's important that you have that data eventually at some point in time, at some point, you're going to have to say, hey, we need that data. And we'll talk about the scenarios when we get into more of this, right? Is that, well, why don't I just make it required? Well, it might be too soon to make it required. I haven't had that conversation of why I need your address yet. And I want you to think about, most everybody here has probably been through the dating scene. And just imagine you're in the dating scene and somebody walks up to you and starts asking you all the questions about you that you might not be ready to answer in a bar they haven't even bought you a drink yet. Like, where do you live? What's your phone number? How much income do you make? How many employees work at your company? Think about answering all those questions. So there's a time and a place to answer questions, which is why it's so important to understand the journey that you're on with each of these records, right? So we're back, we're still in list views. The first thing we did was we sorted the data so we could see things. You could sort by lots of things. You might say, well, damn, this was just created 3 days ago. A little soon to ask. So maybe I'll wait. There's one that I haven't contacted yet. So I'm going to, Jeff at Jackson Controls. Well, I haven't talked to him yet. So it's appropriate that I don't have that data. And, these are relatively new leads. So maybe in the way my sales works, I wouldn't collect that data yet. But let's do this. Let's say, it is important. So now that we've looked at the data, we might create a list view. So click on the list view controls and click new. And we'll call this one update the address. Now, if you're the administrator, you can decide who sees this list view, because maybe, again, like anything else, you don't want too much of anything because it's called overload. So maybe before I share this list view, I'm going to keep it to myself. So leave it, only I can see it, and then click save. So the first thing you did was you gave birth to a list view with no criteria. So you have a amorphous blob of list view. And now I'm waiting for mine to just save. This simple. Everybody saved? Is everybody list view saved already? So now that you've got your list view created, the next thing, if your list view is done already, then I'm going to send you back to the controls. And now, instead of adding a filter, which is what typically the instructions say, I'm going to ask you to select the fields to display. So the first filter by default is personal ownership, my leads. No other filter. So I went up from 15 to 23 because some of the leads have a different criteria. It's fine, leave them there and that. Go back to the list view controls and click select fields to display. Now, the reason I'm doing select fields to display is because I want to, if I'm going to update the address, then I want to make sure I have a complete address. So I'm going to take city, move it over. I'm going to take country. I select the field, and then I select to put it on the list. I'm going to take, oh, I want to see their mobile number because I want to be able to text them. I want their phone number because I want to be able to call them to get their address. I want their zip code. And web address is just like a real address. So maybe I want that one too. And again, these are all standard fields, very little custom. Now, when I click save, don't click save, but when I click save, you'll see that the fields that I added now show up on the list view in no particular order. Well, technically the order in which I added them. That's not user friendly. You're not going to like it. They're not going to like it. You need to set it up right. Now, this is a pretty compressed. So what are some fields I don't need here? If this is my list view, I want to do it to update my addresses for my leads because it's important to me. What do I not need to see? Do I need to see the owner? I don't need to see who the owner is. I know who the owner is. I'm the owner, right? So I'm going to go back to my list view controls. I'm going to go back to select fields to display. I'm going to take out, I hate the owner anyway. I'm going to take out the owner alias because I don't need it. Do I care about the date it was created? Do I care if it's unread or not? Depends. You have to ask yourself, do I care about that data? Do I need to see it? Do I want to see it? Does it add any value for the work that I'm trying to do? You've only got a limited number of columns that you can have. So it's important to have the right columns to take the right action. So I'm going to take out my created date. I'm going to take out my lead status. You know why? Because that has nothing to do with the address. The status, I'll see that later and I'll show you why. So I got the name, I got the email, I got the company. Maybe I want company first. At this point, do whatever you like. I'm just going to go through one example. I typically like my street address to come. Do I have my street? Did it make it over? Yeah, it did. Okay. There it is. There's my street. And yeah, when you do enough list views, you get a little smarter about how you add them. When you know the fields, you get a little smarter about how you add them. But right now, you just added them the way you added them. Now you want to put them in order that makes the most sense to you. Cities. I got my street. I want to put my city first, then my state, then my zip. And look, you're limited to 15 fields, so you got to put in the ones that matter most. Maybe I want my phone numbers early on, maybe I want them later. It doesn't matter to me. It's up to you. Now I click save. And from this list, I got a pretty solid, actionable list. Now, I've got people that have full addresses, right? I've got people that are in different countries that have no address. All of that's great. But what I want to take out, I'm going to say that if they don't have a street address, then they don't have an address. So I'm going to add a filter. So I'm going to click on my filters. I'm going to add a filter. I don't know if it does a blank. Let's just try it. There's all my fields. So you want to pick. So these are called the Boolean operators. It's a technical term, right? So this particular field, what is my criteria for filters? And this is important because this is how a lot of the functionality in Salesforce actually works. It's based on how do you do one thing or see one thing is based on criteria. What's the criteria in my data? So I'm going to say does not contain, because there's no way to say is blank. I don't think there is. Is there is blank? Not in this. I wish there was an is blank. So I'm just going to say does not contain A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I think those will all be. I'm going to do this. A, E, I, O, U. I believe that will cover. There's not a street in America that doesn't have a vowel in it. And did that produce the result I wanted? Yep. Okay. So now I have a list of all my blank streets. Whoops. So now if I want to go and edit, if I'm on the phone with Brenda at Cardinal, and I might not need her company name, I can have it if I want it. I've got her phone numbers. I've got her email address. I can do work on this list now. Does that make sense, everybody? Did everybody complete that list view exercise? Okay, questions, comments, concerns? Oh, come on, computer. All right, in the last few minutes of class, I want to go over what's coming up next. And let's see if this is the right one. I added some more features. Wait a minute, hold on, let me see what's next. Let me check my syllabus. All right, in this session, we kind of covered this last time. We did a general overview of Salesforce. We did our Trailhead login. What I'd actually like to do, so we'll get in. There's not a trail for this. It's still the same trails. Before we get into the data model, which is what is the next, understanding this, the Salesforce platform, the different use cases for the platform, the architecture, how do we navigate setup menu, and then the app exchange for when we want to, instead of building, we should buy. Sometimes they're free. But let's make sure that everybody's up to date with, so in the chat box that we have in class, or just open up, unmute yourself. I'm going to actually unmute everybody. So if you've got noise in the background, or you're talking, or you're saying something, talking smack or whatever, then cut it out, because I'm about to unmute you. And if you can't unmute, like if you're somewhere with something going on. Oh, I lost all my other chat before. Okay. So What I want to make sure everybody's got is a trail, and I'll put in the chat group. If I can get to it. Unmute all. Where's my unmute all button? I had an unmute all button, but now I can't find it. Anyway, so unmute yourself and let me know. Did anybody have any trouble getting their developer account or their Trailhead account?
All right. Hey, Dominic, it's Michael Benquoli. I have an issue well, I just sent you an email. I need to know how to get my developer account.
Okay, great. You might not be the only one, so that's why that's why I want to make sure everybody's up to speed on this. It's not that critical yet, but it will be. So,
Okay.
if you
Yeah,
haven't done
same here. I need the developer work
Yeah.
still.
and I was gonna copy the instructions again, but the instructions are in the chatter group, and I will send an email out again to try to get you guys. I think I know why. If you didn't get the chatter invite, I think I might know why. And I gotta go dig. I don't want to, it's moving too slow. I'll do that after class. But if you go to developer.salesforce.com, by the way, there's tons of resources out there, Salesforce resources. This is a guided training path. But if you haven't set up your developer account, what I'd like you to do is set it up with your initials plus, I'm going to put in the chat, put in your real email address. So click sign up for your account. Mm-hmm. And Tuesday night was a global gathering. There's it's fun. All right. And mine's taking long. So as you go through, just for your, use all your initials plus January 2020. And I just picked at superhero.com because you guys are superheroes. Just add all this stuff, put your name. The most important thing is your username. And remember, this is on the test. Every username in Salesforce ecosystem must be unique, which is why I'm saying your initials plus January 2020 at superhero.com. There's a damn good shot that's unique. So if it's not, it'll tell you. But all that really matters is that your email address is correct and that your username is unique. It's a little insight into the test. That's one of the many questions Salesforce will ask. So developer.salesforce.com, and then you'll get an email that'll say, please click here to activate it. And that's all you have to do is go check your email, click activate. And now you have a fully functioning enterprise edition version of Salesforce. Julia, you got it? Brian, you already did yours. Gil, you got yours already. Amy, you got yours yet or no?
Mm-hmm. You're gonna send
So
a con-
Dominic, I guess
Sorry.
where I'm having issues, like it's saying it sends an email to my SuperHero email,
No.
but I don't know where to access that.
No. So you use your email. The username is in the format of an email address. All Salesforce username.
Okay, gotcha.
But what I'm saying is for your username, we're going to use this particular format because it's probably going to be unique. Your initials plus January 2020 plus, I don't know if there is a real website called, it's got to be a superhero.com website. I don't care. It's got to be superhero.com. It's got to exist. Can't imagine it doesn't. But we don't care. It doesn't email to your username. It emails to your email address. Does that make sense?
Got it. Mhm.
This might be what's slowing up my computer. I got to come up with something else. Get that done. I tried to switch computers today, but I did it too soon to class starting, and I didn't. I'm on a work computer, so this might be some of my slowdown. I'm going to fix it by Monday. So yeah, your email address is, Julia, is what needs to go in there. And it could be Computer Futures or your personal. I would recommend your personal, but it doesn't matter to me as long as it's at an email you can address right now, access right now. And then your username, just make that, J something S. What is your middle initial? Or put Jazz, J-A-Z, it's fine. Put Jazz, January 2020 at superhero.com or whatever you want. It's just, don't use something that's a real email address because more likely you want to want that for a user name somewhere else. And then we're going to just check out what SuperHero is, if anything. Yeah, look at that. It's a fake domain somebody's squatting on. Or is it? Oh, no. What is this? Super. Imagine your brand in Times Square. Julia, you could go visit these guys.
Which guys?
Superhero.com.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I messed it up just because I put like the SuperHero email in the email and I created the username and now they're like, this username already exists. So I might just figure it out with you later on.
Just create a new username. It'll go away. If the email address is not real, if you put the wrong email, if you put a bad email address in there, it'll just fine. They created it, but it's not active and it'll go away while. But just put JAZ1 at. We got to remember
Okay.
your username. That's all. Now, if you guys are using Chrome, and you should be, and I'm sorry I didn't say that sooner, there is, I have this Google Chrome extension that I use to remember all of my username and passwords. My synchronization broke and I'm with tech support, but as long as you're on one laptop, one browser, you can have it a bunch of different logins. And then when you want to log in, you just pick the one you want and boom, it goes right to it. Whoops. Anyway, so questions, comments, concerns? All right, so the couple things I want to cover is we're going to have class again Monday. We're going to pick up at the next, which is we're going to talk about standard Salesforce and the administrator role, like when you're the administrator. And we'll talk about the data model, like how the data, we talked about it already, but we're going to take a little bit deeper of a dive in it. if you're not an admin, now, most of you don't really administer an organization yet, but we'll talk about what is your role as an administrator. What are the things you touch? How do we use help and training, as well as, and we've actually probably going to change session 4 because we've already done some of this, but we'll see. We'll talk about help and training, where to go to get those help and trainings, but complete the trails as you go along so that you you start to get, and I'm following the flow of the trails in Trailhead. And I created a trail mix for us. And I'm not going to share the trail mix just yet because I kind of Jerry Wonkered it up with a lot more stuff. And you can see that stuff down at the bottom. I'm going to reorganize it and resynchronize it by Monday. But most important thing is catch up on the 2 trails that we've got so far. And I will send that out in an email, given that you don't have the chatter group. But what I'd really like to see is you guys in, I'm going to put everything in our own little collaboration space for the chatter group if I can get my browser to work. So does anybody have any questions about what we covered so far or what we're going to cover? Because we went deeper into navigation. And I think if you're not comfortable with navigation in Salesforce, then I would recommend you spend time just playing around your developer org and navigating your org so that you can you get a sense of how things work, where data lives. And if you don't have that, then just start adding data to this, this developer org of yours. All right, so I will post the recording as well in our chatter group, and I'll send an email link out with it if you need it. If you don't, if you want to watch this again, fine. And if you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me, just put on my calendar. So remember I put that in the chat to everybody. So the design of this class, and there's still time for people to join the class if they want. There's some people who said they were coming that they couldn't make these classes. We're going to confirm their participation. We're a cohort. We're going to go through this class together. So I want to, when you log in to our Lightning experience, I'm going to log out of here. And when you log into our Lightning experience as a chatter user, it'll give you guys a chance to collaborate with each other, ask questions. And I want to encourage you to reach out to each other. If you know each other, great. If you don't, even better. And start to just post your questions, engage in some type of conversation so that you get the feel of how it really works when you're working with Salesforce, especially in the back end, where we're going to be doing most of our work as setup. It really does take community to solve your specific problems, because the greatest thing about Salesforce is it's completely customizable. The worst thing about Salesforce, it's completely customizable. So what happens is everything's the same, but then it very quickly veers to be different. And so your particular business challenges, your needs is going to require, oh, you're in Africa right now, Michael. Oh, Monday will be traveling day for you. So,
Yes,
all right,
sir.
that's fine.
Yes, sir.
We'll have a recording of it on Monday, no problem. Are you in Africa right now?
Yes, I came in this evening. Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you for being on the call with us, Michael.
Oh, thank you, Amy. You're
That's
welcome.
right. Is there anything anybody wants to say? And any feedback is good feedback to me, so. Quiet.
I would love to see the recording of this one and the first one, the one you did on Monday.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
So where that's posted right now It's on YouTube. You can literally just search for it on YouTube. I think I made it public. Because nobody's saying anything private yet. But I really want to see if you got the email. Michael, if you go to mbanky, here's what I'd like you to check. Check your email. It's on this list right here. Check that email for, whoops. Oh no. Wait a minute. Oh, got it. Bad, Dominic. Whoops, wrong file.
See.
It got jacked up. So I've got your, Michael, I know yours is mbanky. So whatever that, just check that email for the email that I sent you to Michael Bencoli at Sales and Technology. To see if you should have gotten an invitation from me on that email address to join the chatter group. That's what I really want to make sure everybody gets in the chatter group. Because the cool thing about chatter, like once you're in different groups, you can collaborate with different people. And the reason I gave you all a Sales and Technology email address is so that when you log in with that email address on your user record, you can move from group to group and collaborate with different people and post to everybody's record. And it gives you some functionality that you wouldn't have if you were in one of these private groups. So we don't have any members yet. So I'd like you to get your membership on. Did anybody get that email?
No.
No.
All right, I'll figure out why that's the case before I go to bed tonight. Amy, I may not be coming home.
Okay, well, I mean, I can go through the path with you directly, like
Yep.
how, you know,
We
what
will.
my experience was. I'm happy to do that.
Yours is different because yours is different though.
Okay. then.
Yep. All right. Well, guys, thanks a lot. I got an email that says testing. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thanks, Michael. I'll figure that deal out and we'll jump into the collaboration. Anything, anybody, questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to me individually. If you don't schedule it, then I may not answer the phone. And texting me first, see if I'm available. If I don't respond right away, just call. It's fine to call me too. So little by little, we're going to conquer this whole monster together. And hopefully you'll bring questions to Wednesday's Q&A. By the way, what time works better for you guys Wednesday? I was toying around with noon, but would 5 o'clock be better? Or 4 o'clock be better?
I like noon.
We'll try it both ways. We'll see what works. Sometimes noon's not going to work for me for my day job, but we'll try and do it. Okie doke.
Okie doke.
Okay.
Thank
guys.
you.
I really appreciate you being here. And I will see you Monday.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Thanks, Dominic. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Julia. Bye, Jazz.
Bye.